Welcome back to another Deeper Dig conversation here at Joaquin Miller Park. This is episode 38 with multifaceted creative Dennis Free. Dennis, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
For sure. Let's just get straight into it. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Dennis Free from Oakland, California, right here, like 5 minutes from the spot we're sitting right now. I am a DJ, producer, and yeah, based in New York, all on the electronic side for the most part. And yeah, we look after this collective called Level 3, based in New York as well. We have a label under that, an agency, and kind of building that out. I work at Apple Music, look after DJ mix partnerships there. I also manage an artist named Black Hibiscus and vibe out outside of that when I have the time to.
You're also a high-level athlete. Can you talk a little bit about that too?
Former high-level athlete.
Former high-level.
Yeah, I grew up playing ice hockey here in Oakland until I was from 4 years old until I was about 20, 6 days a week, playing throughout the country. And yeah, that was kind of the fundamental part of my entire life growing up, from playing at the Oakland Ice Center to like these tournaments in Detroit and Chicago, and kind of training every day to just get better and better. And then ended up going to boarding school, getting recruited for that, and that kind of pushed me to the East Coast, and then got out of that and started everything else. So,
can you tell us how sort of Level 3 came about and like how you got sort of the event series and the parties going?
Yeah, Level 3 started as a fashion collective. We were all going to Columbia at the time, and we noticed that a lot of kids at Columbia, their inspiration all drew, especially being in New York like that, their inspiration drew from these massive magazine publications like a Harper's Bazaar or a Vogue or whatever. But the thing is, when you look in a lot of those magazines, you can't afford a lot of the clothes that they're wearing. So we wanted to kind of create a lookbook for college kids to see what other college kids were wearing around the country, just so that people could kind of catch a vibe of what college fashion was like. So we decided to start just basically going to colleges and hitting up fly people that we saw on campus and telling them, can we take some pictures of you, whatever. So we did shoots across like 8 campuses, and then it just got too much with the travel. But around that same time, it was the summer of 2021, and we were just starting like all of our internships and whatnot. So there were a lot of people I knew who were in the city. And one of my friends, or 4 of my friends, Ant, Ness, Renee, and Jaden, they had this apartment in Harlem. There's like you could fit 200 people in the basement, like about 100 people outside on the balcony. And it was on this street where it was such an insular space that if you were on the street, you couldn't hear anything happening if the party was going on.
Wow.
So I had there was this frat that had just got disbanded that I had rushed for a couple months, like when I first started at Columbia. And they had all these speakers that were just there. So I took the speakers and brought them to their apartment. And we threw a party there first weekend of the summer, and had about 400 people come through that night. Played from 10 to 5 a.m. And it went so well that we just decided to keep doing it. And every weekend for the next 10 weeks, we had a party. And we kind of just built this community of people who were all like the homies who just wanted to have a good time. And through that, I started DJing a ton, and we started attaching the Level 3 brand to those parties in a very minor way. Like the apartment had a TV, and we would just put the Level 3 logo on the TV. So it wasn't anything branded in like a real structured way, but we were kind of just getting that idea out there. This was a Level 3 party. And then we went to this one venue called Space 54, did like a 370 person open bar event with all the people who would come to the parties prior to that, and everyone loved it. So then from there, we just started going on and on as kind of domino effect of more and more events, and then went to London and was there studying there for 6 months. And then we came back, kind of took all the learnings we found from Europe of just the music and the way people put together events and just flow and all of that stuff, and implemented that with the parties we were doing in New York. And from there, just kept building, and it was just always positive feedback from the community, and attaching to a community of like a lot of minorities who wouldn't necessarily think of dance music in the tradition or in its current form as something that they would be attracted to. We were really trying to bridge that gap of making sure that a lot of people of color who were coming to the parties understood that the music that they were hearing was coming from their origins and their background that they may not have even been aware of. So slowly but surely we started to move from more of a hip-hop and Afrobeats leaning space into a dance electronic space, but still keeping a lot of the roots of the original sounds that we were hearing at a lot of the parties in that community, which felt very smooth as a transition as opposed to just cutting off and going to play some random shit. So kind of just developed from there, and now we're expanded and continuing to go up. So
for sure. What's it like doing a set all night? I've heard you talk about like you're like, oh, I'll go on at midnight and I'll play till 5 or 6. What's it like being there spinning for 5 or 6 hours straight? It must be different than doing it for like 1 or 2 hours.
It's funny because I realized that my path as a DJ, like what it will end up being if I continue on, is like I started my career with super long sets because there was nobody else to DJ. And then as you get more competitive, you have shorter sets to try to take that hour and an hour and a half to prove yourself of like, this is all the stuff that I got and this is the best stuff that's going to get everybody active. But as you get even farther and farther, it's more appealing to have even longer sets, not because there's no other DJs, but because you want that time to be able to build a story. So it's like in the beginning when I was DJing, I wasn't really building a story. I was just playing for a long time. But I would love to get back to that point to be able to actually have like a full length feeling throughout the night. There's this guy Theo Parrish who's kind of one of the like OG legends in the dance space, and he only does minimum 3-hour sets, and usually we'll go to a lot of like I just saw him in New York and he did a 12-hour set at Industry City, and that type of format is something that I would want to work towards but not in the immediate. But I think when you're in that space, it's like you get in a real pocket that makes it feel like the night is just never going to end, but you're not really thinking about time as much as you're thinking about what this part of the night, like what are we all feeling and how do I continue this feeling but not abandon it all of a sudden. Like everything from the moment that you start the set to the moment that you end, you should be able to identify any 2 points in the set and understand how those were somewhat connected. Because otherwise you're just kind of playing tracks, and it's a bit different than really building out a full experience. Because I haven't really had that many super long sets recently. I'd say the longest was last December. I did a 6-hour set with Pedro and Tommy Gold, who are two of my close like collaborators. And that was a 6-hour one, which was an all-nighter, but it was 3 of us, so it was a little bit easier to manage. But yeah, you kind of just have to think about it as a full experience, and not trying to check the time, not trying to think about anything else.
Who controls what when there's multiple people standing up there like touching stuff?
It's usually predetermined before, like for that set, because we had such a long time, we just went 1 for 1. Everyone plays one track, and when you're not playing, you kind of just sit back and just chill. I actually did that for Halloween. We also did like a 11 to 4, which was like a 5-hour one, which was fun. That one was it was funny because we learned a lot from that set because there were a lot of people kind of crowding the booth, which we realized was not great if 2 of us aren't playing, we're going to be hanging out. And if everyone is hanging out, then it's just a little bit too much going on. But I'd say usually it's a good balance between just digging and really thinking about, you have a lot more time to think about what you want to play, so you can kind of be reactive but proactive as well. But there are some sets I've done where it's been like, 5 hours, and we'll do 2 songs each, 2 to 3 songs each, or go off like 10 minutes each. But for me, I do like the 1-to-1 ratio just because it feels like you're always a part of the next track,
So if you're doing a set all on your own, let's say it's a couple hours, are you trying to like create flow state? Are you trying to are you just letting sort of your expertise take over? Like, what is it that you're sort of like looking to do in that set, in the moment, when you're in front of the crowd and it's happening?
I think it depends on the context of what the party is and what that party set out to do as well. Like, like if you take last night, for example, I was opening for G Lee, and I understand, like, his sound is very identifiable, fast but not too fast. He's kind of in that sits in that 130 range for a lot of his tracks. So with that, I had an hour, hour and a half or so, but I wanted to tee him up in a way that my set didn't feel like it overpowered energy wise, but give enough to where people are right at that cusp of like, they want to, just run around and jump up and down and all of that. So I kind of positioned it to where my first 45 minutes was very calm, very slow, but then building that energy up to that peak tipping point, but not tipping it, but just getting it right there so that as soon as he starts, he can just go for it the whole time. And that I feel is the job of an opener to make sure that I'm not making it seem like a headline set, but I'm also not, being too soft or too quiet to where he then has to do his own build up, because that's literally wasting his time basically.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, what do you have the opener for, but there's other sets where it's like I've had some like headline shows where in those I'm kind of thinking what from a sound perspective, how like what do I want people to feel? Like a lot of times percussion is a big part of a lot of my sets, where I have tracks that incorporate a lot of bongos, a lot of perks, a lot of like hi-hats, but really and I add like a lot of spirals and echoes on it to make them really emphasized. And in those, I'm kind of trying to catch people off guard of still feeling like they're in this flow state, if you will, but then hear some element that hasn't been heard the entire night. And I like those moments because it feels like you're in the same path, but you're adding new textures every once in a while. And with those, sometimes I'm trying to keep the energy at 100% the whole time, but there's moments in the middle of a set where I'll kind of bring it down. Like in Amsterdam, last month, I remember there was probably a 10-minute period where the energy kind of got really low, but not in a way that people weren't paying attention, but in a way where I was giving them a chance to take a break and to kind of relax and reset and then come back up at the end so that they feel like they're not, because you also don't want to push all the energy out of a crowd to where they have nothing left to give to you by the end of the set. So but also not think about the time and be like, hey, should we leave? Hey, should we go to another room? So it's a hard balance to draw, but that's the goal.
That's awesome. For these types of shows that you're doing, it kind of like the last two that I went to, like last night, you definitely primed the floor exactly how you explained it. Like at first it was sort of like people are kind of rolling in the first half an hour, 45 minutes, and then toward the end of your set, like it's packed out.
Yeah.
And that was really how it felt. Like it felt like you were building it. And like I can sort of tell, I feel like when you're getting in flow state, because your dancing will change. Your head movement will start as like, okay, it's humble. And then I know when you're really in flow state, because you'll be touching the board, but I'm
like looking up.
You'll be leaned way back, eyes closed, like, and I know I'm like, oh, he's cooking. Like he's so cooking
it's
right
so
now.
Funny because my friends and I joke about like all of our super kind of subtle movements that we have when we're really in a pocket, because one of my friends, Mesa, he'll like, similar to me, he'll kind of like put his head back, but his entire shoulders are like kind of stretched back, and then once the drop hits, he'll kind of like come in like this. My friend Pedro will just be rocking his head this way, and it's stuff that we can't even control in the moment, but it kind of just happens once you feel like you've hit that threshold that you can continue going on. So
no, yeah, that's so fun because the whole crowd can just tell like, oh, he's in his bag right now.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about your travels outside of the country and sort of what that's brought to you in your life?
Yeah, I mean, this last year to 2 years, honestly, I've been able to start really getting out of New York a lot to play, which has been really an incredible experience. I think that my time when I was in school in London was a good step for me to just be like, all right, I need to come out here a lot more and just experience this space from a music perspective. And yeah, the last few months especially, I got to, like, the entire month of October, I was over there and had 2 shows, one in London and one in Amsterdam. And that whole trip was obviously to play, and it was really big and important shows. But I was also kind of there from a research perspective of just getting a better understanding of what type of spaces are out there, what type of DJs are out there, all the sounds that I'm hearing as well. Because I think that in the New York community, there's so many cool spaces, but there's not that much space. So when you go to a spot like Amsterdam, for example, which is kind of like Oakland, like, you have just warehouses everywhere and a lot of just underutilized spaces that are shipping containers or that are, various warehouses. And you see the way that these collectives and whatnot will turn these spaces into these incredible events and experiences. And it's just cool to see that reaction of then the community really buying into whatever they're trying to make. Like I went to, and that's more on the like DIY end, with a lot of the small parties that I went to. And I went to some of the, I felt like most passionate, or I became a part of like the most passionate group of people in that city as I was going to these events, because you just feel like they really want to be there and really want to be a part of it, and are kind of like, whatever happens tonight, I'm getting taken on this journey, which a lot of people in the US don't really do. Like, they'll go to a club, and if it's not exactly what they expect, they kind of dip out. And so yeah, that was cool to experience. And then on the flip side, like, went to Ibiza, and you see the biggest clubs on the planet, where it's like Ushuaia, for example, has a hotel like lining the side of the stage so people can see from the balconies at the event. And it's just kind of crazy stuff like that that's somewhat like, whoa, but also very interesting just to see that that's how people think about club culture as one of the main formats of consumption in the space, which is so different than here. So I think that it's cool to go over there and just understand how my mindset about music is not that outlandish, because sometimes in New York you're like, I'm way too deep in this subculture of music that it feels like I'm a bit crazy. Then you go over there and it's like everybody's on that exact same timing every day. So
Yeah. What is the Bay sort of doing for you now at this stage in your life? Is it sort of your reset? Is it just to come back and touch your roots? What does that kind of do for you?
Like, family, of course, is here, and that's always a given. But I think for me, when I come back to the Bay, I really do nothing. Like, just kind of be with my family. I don't go out that much. It's funny because I've had these 2 shows this last couple weeks, and that's like the first time I've been to both of those venues, which are both pretty well-known venues in the city, and I just haven't like.
Same here for me too. Yeah.
And there's a lot of spots in San Francisco that I haven't explored because I left so early in my life. But also as a result of that, I'm not really that keen to just go check everywhere out. Like, I'm more come here to get away from the club aspect of my life. Because walking around in the Bay is just you're not overwhelmed by everything. I think one of the things I love about New York is how hectic everything is, where I get on the train and like everybody, no matter what career you're in, you're going to get after it some capacity. And here it's like, you wake up and you walk outside and there's people walking around and smoking weed and walking their dogs, and it's very chill. And I think that from a day-to-day during the week, I don't want that all the time. But when I can come back here for a couple weeks and just relax and have that, it's like a really great thing. And it allows me to get a lot of work done as well, without the pressure of everybody on top of me all the time. So, yeah.
I've seen you rocking that Oakland Fire Department quilted jacket.
Yeah.
So sick.
Up here over at the fire station.
Yeah, right down the street. Has anyone said anything about that? Because I've seen you wear like the NY hat with the Oakland Fire. Sick.
Yeah,
I like that.
I wear that a lot in New York actually. And it's always like people from the Bay calling it out. I feel like I always try to pay roots to the Bay in some format across like sets. I wear hats like quite a lot in my sets, so I have a lot of Oakland hats and like and then just like shirts and whatnot. But I think it's cool because me and Mesa, who's the other DJ as part of Level 3, we're both from Oakland. So within our music, as well as just like the way we carry ourselves. We're always trying to call out Oakland explicitly on like, this is where we're coming from, even if the music may not sound like it's from here. Like a lot of the inspirations are from here. He has a track on his new project called Ode to Oakland, and then I have a track that I'm gonna put out next year, and the main sample is like from Mr. C and RBO Posse. So I have like always thinking about ways to incorporate that don't feel forced, but also can kind of give people a taste of this spice. So yeah,
For sure. That's awesome. I think that should do it for us,
Yeah.
honestly. Trying to think what else do you got for us? What else do you got? Anything you want to shout out on a rabbit's hole? Anything that's on your mind? What do you want to tell the people?
I'd say with level 3, or just continue to follow what we're doing. Like, we're really trying to build out. I mean, we feel like we've already built out a great community, but in terms of the music that we're putting out now too, like, we want that to be a fundamental piece of our cultural identity. And as I said, like, always holding down for the bass. So I feel like a lot of what comes in the next few years will be with that deeply in mind. But yeah, we're gonna start working with a number of DJs from New York to put out their tracks, and we're continuing to work on a ton of stuff. So I feel like this next year will be a very good run of just like really positive leaning events and music coming out. So I'm very excited for that.
I feel like you're really pioneering. You and your crew are pioneering sort of obviously a different style of music. I feel like a lot of people our age are pretty immersed in the hip hop R&B sort of genre, and I feel like obviously there are a lot of people that are elsewhere, but there are a big demographic of people that are like really in that, but then now discovering people like you and then going to shows and then being like, oh, like I didn't realize that this stuff was so sick, or I didn't realize that I would like this.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of people in the Bay who I've known for years through school and whatnot, like including my cousins. I remember my cousin called me one day and was like, "Are you going to? Or are you in the Bay?" And I was like, "No, I'm not in the Bay. What's going on?" He's like, "Oh, I'm going to the Sammy Vergie show." And Sammy Vergie's like a UK. He came up in the UK and was like really big a couple years ago, and now has like built his US audience. So it was funny hearing my cousin, who I've never discussed, dance music with, asking me if I'm going to the show.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was just a funny testament to like there is such a newfound curiosity from a lot of people in this space, and I feel like it's still new for me. Like I really only like piqued my interest in like during, I guess, in the beginning of COVID or within that space, but I feel like it's something that is such an inclusive genre as well, that can also be, if done correctly, can be consumed without ostracizing any other genres, which I think is important, because there's a lot of like, even within the dance space, there's a lot of dance music and dance communities that are like, we don't like rap, we don't like R&B, we don't like this, we don't like that. And like, I don't feel that way at all. I listen to so many different types of music that it would be crazy for me to then like deny an entire other genre for some reason.
Yeah.
So we really try to kind of make sure that we are like centered within electronic music, but we want to make sure that there's through lines to everything, to where we can connect with other communities. Because even in New York, like I work with Black Hibiscus, and he's like in the alternative space, and it's a whole different space as well. But a lot of those people are our homies too, so it's all kind of just intertwined, and all just trying to make cool shit across different genres. So
it's like you were saying at Crybaby the other night, when like it was very sort of like everyone was going hard, it was loud, it was very electronic, but then you would tease a couple songs for like 5 or 10 seconds, and people would go crazy, and then you'd be right back into the to the vibes. And for me, that was like such a fun sort of offset where it's like I was into the music and then okay, it changes into like a complete different genre and then it goes right back into how we were before. So that's fun.
I think it just proves that you can do stuff like that and it doesn't feel weird. Like it doesn't feel like you're just segmenting any specific genre or any community. So
I feel like when people are like, when all the homies are packed in the car and someone's on aux, like I feel like you never even get through the whole song anyways. Like someone's like, let me cue the next one, let me get the phone, whatever. So
that's true.
Yeah, I definitely think that's something that like not everyone is used to, but like once you understand it, you could definitely get down with it.
Yeah. I agree.
Well, I think we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you so much for taking time out of your super busy and
of course
and prosperous schedule. We really appreciate you over here at A Rabbit's Hole, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good one.